Hi, hello, booktubers and people watching this video on YouTube. I'm Tim, and I'm here with my March Mystery Madness wrap-up, or it's also my March wrap-up. I know for my TBR for it, I had shown, had stated 9 books. But because of health problems and stuff, I only managed to get in 4 books, so that's why I didn't do a TBR for April. I'm continuing on with the books I had on that the March TBR that I hadn't read yet, plus some others. But I've decided I won't be doing TBRs anymore because with my health problems and stuff, I never know how many books I'll read in a month. But with that said, let's start showing the books. The first book I read in March for March Mystery Madness was Winter by David Baldacci, which is falls under the category for a thriller. It takes place originally in a small rural town in Georgia, in an area that has a high poverty rate, and it's with mainly about Luann Tyler, who in the beginning is 20-year-old mother that dropped out of school in the 7th grade to support her family, and she was living with the father of her baby. Her father is pretty much no good. He rarely worked. She was working, trying to find work wherever she could. Well, anyway. And she was contacted by a guy that went by Mr. Jackson that said that he could rig it up for her to win the national lottery, and she had just so many days to decide, and before they had the next drawing for it, and she was supposed to call him after she bought the lottery ticket. Well, she wasn't going to until around the last day that she had the option for calling him, where she a little bit the day before she caught her boyfriend cheating on her with another woman, in bed with another woman. And she ran out, and she decided to go back and confront him that day. When she got there, she discovered him dead, and then somebody attacked her from behind, and she managed to knock the other guy out with the phone after a struggle. And she also noticed that there were bags of drugs in there, and she was going to go report it to the local sheriff, but then she was afraid that she'd be arrested because there was blood all over her clothes and stuff. And finally she went and she called Mr. Jackson. He told her to buy a lottery ticket, and then she called him back as soon as she bought it, gave him the numbers, and then she went straight to Atlanta. From there, caught a train up to New York to wait for the drawing and stuff. She leaves the country after the drawing and stuff, and getting the check, and and Mr. Jackson worked it out where he'd be handling the financials for her, and but the stipulation was she was supposed to leave the United States and never come back because she was most likely wanted for murder in Georgia. So he gave her a new identity and everything. But most of the book takes place 10 years later, where she decides to come back to the States and trying to hide to where so Mr. Jackson wouldn't find out and stuff. And this just entails what happens. Most of the book tells about what happens from there on. The book was a little dry for me to start out with, and I should have said that. I checked this out from Cloud Library, which is pretty much on online, and you get it as an ebook. And since I had only so many days that I had it checked out for, I figured, okay, I wouldn't read any other books along with it, so I could get it done, which ended up taking me a while longer to read. I finished it on time, but it took me around half the month to read it. It wasn't as riveting to me as Baldacci's first two books. This is his third book, and so I gave it a rating of 4 out of 5 stars. The second book I finished in March falls under the child or teen detective, which is The Wailing Octopus by John Blank. It's the 11th book in the Rick Brandt series, and in this one, Rick and his best friend Scotty, along with scientists Tony Ambriotti and Hobart Zircon, discover evidence that there were pirates on the island that they live on at one time, and after doing some research, they discovered that a boat that had been on the island had supposedly sunk near Clipper Key, which is a small island near St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, and that had never been recovered. So they decided to go down there to try finding the ship and whatever treasure it had on it. But before stopping at the island, they stopped in St. Thomas to get some supplies and stuff. And while there, Rick and Scotty run across Steve Ames, which is a government agent who they worked with in some of the previous books, and he pointed out to them that somebody's been shadowing him, and they asked if they could help him throw him off long enough for him to get away. And they do that, and then a little later they notice somebody following them, and had some adventures with that individual. Well, then after they get to Clipper Key, they found out somebody had tampered with some of their scuba gear. So they had to do work to repair that and stuff. And for the rest of the book, you're following them. They're trying to figure out what's going on. There's some other people on the island, and they discovered that one of the people was a guy that was following Steve Ames, so that made them even more curious what was going on. I enjoyed this book. I like the Rick Brandt series. I'm trying to read all of it that they have in ebook format, and I've reviewed other books of the series in my blog. rated this one 4 out of 5 stars also. The third book I read falls under the classic mystery, which is The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. This is a fourth book written by him. It's a second one that's comprised of a number of short stories. These are all Sherlock Holmes short stories. And they vary by they're varied by the type of mysteries and stuff, but they are all Sherlock Holmes. And Sherlock's brother Mycroft is introduced in one of the stories in this book, and he appears in a couple other stories. And then the last book in this, or the last story in this book is when the Professor Moriarty is first introduced. See, I'm trying to read out the Sherlock Holmes book by Arthur Conan Doyle. I still have I'm not really sure if I'm even halfway yet. If I'm not, I'm getting close anyway. See, he wrote like 57 short stories, along with like 5 or 6 novels, something like that. I'm off some with that, I know. I also rated this one 4 out of 5 stars. The fourth and final book I read in October is the only book I read that was in the actual book form. It was the paperback for Patriot Games, which is pretty much the first book in the Jack Ryan series, even though it was written after the Hunt for Red October, but it takes place before the Hunt for Red October. And in it, Jack Ryan's history professor at the Naval Academy, and he and his family go over to England for a vacation, and he was also doing some research for a new book he was working on. The day after they got there, he was coming back to meet them, his wife and daughter, at a park over by the mall there in London, and he just met up with them, and all of a sudden he heard like an explosion. He turns around and knows guys shooting at Rolls Royce there. So he knew it was somebody, must have been high-ranking people in the car. Well, first of all, he got his wife and daughter to safety, and then he didn't see anybody trying to really acting to stop them. He saw a chance, and he went and did a pretty much blindside attack of one of the people, or they were actually Irish terrorists trying to attack the car, and he knocks this guy out when he tackled him, but he wasn't sure that. But he got the guy's gun and shot him in the leg, so he couldn't get up and attack him. And then he decides to go after the other person, terrorist shooting, and the other terrorist tries to shoot him about the same time. His goes off. He kills the terrorist. He gets hit in the left shoulder and stuff. Anyway, there was one other terrorist there that was in a vehicle, and he just sped off before the police even got there. And but but after after that, the terrorist, especially the one that he had shot in the leg and sent to prison, and was sent to prison, that he escaped, that terrorist did, and he vowed vengeance on Jack, and the rest of the books is about that. Yeah, of course, this is from my favorite realm. Tom Clancy was my favorite author. Even I know he's dead now, but it's this series that got me really into thrillers, especially techno thrillers. And of course, if you couldn't tell, my rating for this book is 5 out of 5 stars. Of the other 5 that I didn't get read that I had in my TBR, 3 of them I'm reading right now. They are The Hunt for Red October type by Tom Clancy. I'm trying to read all of his books, get out the Jack Ryan series read read this year if possible. I'm also reading Hell of Secrets by Michael Hartstein. It's Israeli Jewish mystery, because I was trying to read that one for the diverse character that takes place over in Israel and with Jews and stuff. So it's a culture I don't really know much about. And the third book is the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket by Edgar Allan Poe. That's the only full-length novel that Poe wrote, yet you don't hear much about it. Well, that's all I have for now. So until next time, read on.